Hey folks, good morning. I'm attorney Roger P. Foley, and today, as I'm driving back from the courthouse, I'm going to talk to you about police reports. And why do I want to talk about police reports? Because every time, 90% of the time, not every time 100%, but 90% of the time, I get a copy of the police report in a criminal case. I always give it to my client. And every 9 out of 10, every time, that's to me like every time, they go, oh, I can't believe this. This isn't what happened. This isn't what went down. This isn't what I said. This isn't what he or she said. This isn't what the witnesses said. And it's always written in a manner that makes it easier for a prosecutor to get a conviction. Now, why do I say that? Because I've never read a police report that says, oh yeah, the defendant was such a nice guy or such a nice girl. They were super polite. They were cooperative. They answered questions that I don't know. Like maybe they didn't do it. Like they don't say that. They go, I arrived on scene. I saw this. I talked to this person. I learned this. I arrested them. They're bad people. I mean, they don't say they're bad people, but everything as you read it, it's offensive, right? If you're the person that someone is writing alleged facts about, right? So police officers do not write reports to make you feel good. They make reports to memorialize the information that they have, and they write it in a way, because they take writing courses on how to write reports and how to testify, to acquire a conviction, right? If they're arresting you, don't they want you to get punished? They say, oh, that has nothing to do with us. We just follow the law. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. They write them to sustain a conviction. So let me tell you why you shouldn't worry about that. There are ways, mostly through cross-examination, taking of depositions, using other witnesses, to show that police report may not be accurate. So here's an example. Every time, and I think a lot of attorneys do that, I don't think I'm anybody special. I think a lot of attorneys go through training and experience with an officer on cross-examination, whether it's during a motion to suppress or in trial. It usually goes something like this. Good afternoon, Officer Smith. Good afternoon, Counselor. Officer Smith, you've been with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office for 5 years, correct? Yes. And before that, did you have any other law enforcement experience? No, I did not. Great. Officer, I want to talk about your training in particular. All right, so I'm going to ask you some questions. All right? Yes. Officer, you went to the academy in 2017. Yes, I did. The reason that you went to the police academy was to learn how to be a police officer, right? Yes. In fact, they teach you policing. Yes. Part of their curriculum is to teach you how to investigate a crime. Yes. How to interview witnesses. Yes. How to talk with potential suspects. Yes. And they teach you, after you do all of those things, you write a report. Yes. Could be a probable cause affidavit. Yes. Could be a supplemental report if you're a backup officer. Yes. All right. So let's talk about the reporting part of your education. When they teach you to write reports, they teach you to be accurate in what you're writing down. Yes. They teach you to be complete. Yes. They teach you to be detailed. Yes. Every once in a while, an officer will say to me, well, there's only so many lines. That's easy. You have a computer system, officer, correct? Yes. You're typing it into the system, yes? So you have access to other pages if you felt something was important, correct? Yes. So you can be accurate, complete, and detailed, right? Yes. And if he was to argue, I've never had one argue, right? Because what officer's going to say I'm not accurate, complete, and detailed when I'm arresting your guy, right? So, but if they did, then you know, you go through that cross-examination of another way of approaching the same issue. So now I've gotten them to say they have training. I mean, right, they have the education, the training in the academy. They taught them to do this. And now I say, okay, officer, let's talk about this particular evening, right? The night you arrested my client, okay? And I do that just because it makes it easy for the court, the judge, to transition. It makes it easier for the prosecutor to follow along, and it makes it easier for a jury or even the witness, right? You don't want people to be confused. Keep it simple, right? So let's talk about, and I'm going to bring up a case that I did several years ago. So just something that pops into my mind. This is off the cuff, right? I had a gentleman who was a bodyguard, and he was hired to protect, let's say, a celebrity. He goes to, they're taken in limos, there's several people, there's limos, and they go out to a club. As they're exiting the limo, there's obviously a lot of people, there's a celebrity there, that kind of thing, and there becomes some disagreement with somebody else in the crowd. And this person runs towards the celebrity to attack them. Well, that's why you have bodyguards, right? So my client stops the attack. He doesn't run towards the guy. He literally, that guy runs. My client pushes the celebrity behind him. Pop, boom, drops him to the ground. Great. Police are called. Police show up. Police make an arrest. It's of my client. The police officer writes in his report, which I figured was an error right from the beginning, that he saw my client punch an individual, and then he saw my client ditch a baggie of cocaine onto the ground. That's what I started with, a police report to that effect. So remember I said, don't get all tied up with the police reports. So what happens? We hire an investigator. We collect witnesses, but we had a limo driver. We had another limo driver, right? It's not that hard to find. We had other people in other limos, right? That were part of an entourage, so to speak, for the celebrity. You notice I don't throw names out. I don't kiss and tell, right? So I have a police report that says I saw the defendant strike the individual, and a separate part of the narrative, I saw the defendant in possession of cocaine and throw it to the ground. I, with my eyes under oath as a police officer, saw that. So let's go through the cross. The state attorney gets up, then they do the direct. The officer says all the same things. I was called onto scene. I saw a scuffle ensue. I saw the defendant punch this person, victim A. I approached him. I immediately handcuffed him. And then while he was handcuffed, I saw him, when he thought I wasn't looking, reach into his pocket and throw a baggie of cocaine onto the ground. Great. All right, so that's what they say. So here's a this was years ago, right? I'm going to go off the cuff, right? Good afternoon, officer. Good afternoon. I've already done the part of the police report, accurate, complete, detailed, right? I've already gone through that part. So, officer, I want to get to the point now where you were dispatched to a call. Okay. You were called over your car radio, correct? Yes. A dispatcher called you and said that they needed law enforcement at Club X. Yes. You arrived there. Well, let me go back. Your dispatch contacted you at 11:35 p.m. Yes. You arrived, according to the CAD report, at 11:40. Correct. So it took you 5 minutes to get there. Yeah, I might have got there a little quicker, but it took me a second to call in. Okay. So 3 to 5 minutes? Yes. Great. When you got there, there was a crowd of people. Yes. I want to talk to you just a little bit about how you got to the club. All right. The club was on Street X. Yes. Club X is on Street X. Yes. Street X is a one-way. Yes. It often gets congested. I guess sometimes. Well, when the club is open, it gets congested, right? People drop off. Yes. People drive past the club. Yes. So when you arrived, you didn't go in the circular driveway where the club went in one direction. No, I did not. You went the opposite way down the one way. Yes, it was an emergency situation. I understand that, officer. But you came the opposite way down the one-way street, correct? Yes. So in effect, when you exited your vehicle, there was some traffic. There were cars in line. Yeah. Fair to say that you blocked those cars? Objection, speculation. You know, the over ambitious prosecutor. If he knows, Judge. I may have blocked traffic. Okay. And when you arrived on scene, there were lots of people. Yes. 30 to 50 people, would that be an accurate statement? Yes. You arrived and you spoke to the manager. Yes, I did. You spoke to witnesses on the scene. Yes, I did. And after doing that, you made an arrest. Yes, counselor, we arrested your client. No, officer, what I'm talking about is you arrested a man. Yes, counselor. You arrested a 6'4" man. I don't think your client is 6'4", Mr. Foley. My point is, officer, you arrested another person prior to arresting my client, did you not? That's not correct. You detained another individual prior to detaining and ultimately arresting my client. Yes, I did. That man that you detained, you put him in handcuffs, did you not? Yes, I did. That man that you detained and put in handcuffs was approximately 6'4", correct? Yes. He was approximately 280 pounds, correct? Yes. He was a darker complected man than my client. Yes. He was Hawaiian, or he was something other than Caucasian, correct? Yes. In fact, he had a ponytail. Yes. Some may describe him as looking Hawaiian or almost like a sumo wrestler. Very large man, correct? I didn't say that, but maybe someone could say that. Okay. You detained and put that person in handcuffs. Objection, asked and answered. Sorry, Judge. Now, we already talked about your police report. You've testified that you saw my client punch the other person. Well, I actually made a mistake. I learned that he had punched someone. I didn't see that he was punched. Okay, so let's make it clear. You made a mistake in your police report. Yes, I did. You did not see the punch. No. In fact, the punch happened prior to you arriving. Yes. Check. Now, after you arrested the 6'4" guy that was 280 pounds, after you did that, you then located and arrested my client, correct? Yes. And he was my client. Mr. Smith, would you stand up? Officer, you would agree that my client is not 6'4"? No, I don't think it. You would agree that my client's not 280 pounds? Yeah, that's correct. When you arrested my client, you handcuffed him, correct? Yes. Let me ask you this, officer, before I get into the arrest part. Did you detain my client first, like you were detaining the other gentleman? Yes, I did. When you detained him, did you also put him in handcuffs? Yes, I did. You have standard issued handcuffs? Yes. You have a procedure for handcuffing suspects? Yes. Whether they're being detained or arrested, you go through the same protocol, do you not? I do. Part of that protocol is placing them in handcuffs behind their back. Yes? Yes. You pat them down to confirm that they don't have any weapons. Yes. And when I say weapons, I mean to make sure they don't have a gun in their pocket, correct? Or a knife, correct? Or a needle, something that could possibly harm you, correct? And that's for officer safety, yes. And you did those things, correct? But I checked for weapons, Mr. Foley. I did not check his for a little small something that I knew wasn't a weapon, because at that point he was being detained. Fair enough. So there could have been other things in his pockets, but nothing that was clearly obvious as a weapon. That's correct. Great. After you handcuffed and detained my client, you sat him down on the curb, did you not? I don't remember if I had him sit down. Well, is there anything that would refresh your recollection? I looked at my report before I came in. I don't recall. Well, let me ask you this. Is it unusual for you, officer, after you detain somebody and you're interviewing other witnesses or people on scene, to sit that person down on a curb or possibly in the back of your police car? Yes, those are both common things. So it is possible that you sat him down on the curb. Yes. And just to help you along a little bit, if your car was back in traffic, faced the opposite way, you may not have walked him through that crowd if you were still investigating, right? Possible, but I don't remember, Counselor. Okay. All right. So, but you didn't put him in the car. No, I would have remembered if I put him in the car. I just don't remember if he was standing or sitting. Okay. All right. Handcuffs were behind his back. Yes. Standard issued cuffs. Yes. Those cuffs have a little metal in between them, right? Yeah. Like an inch? Yeah. It's enough so you can put the hands behind the back. Correct. So, your testimony today is that after you handcuffed the suspect, did a pat down, you then saw him with your eyes, no one told you, you saw him reach into his front pocket, although he was handcuffed, and throw the drugs onto the ground. That's correct. No further questions. Now you're thinking, well, I don't know. The officer just said that he saw it. Well, what you don't know is, like, remember I said we got an investigator, we had the witnesses. So now we call Mr. Limo Driver. Mr. Limo Driver. How are you, sir? Good. You're a limo driver. Yes, I am. How long you been a limo driver? 10 years. You have what kind of license do you have? I have class, whatever. Okay. And you work for ABC Corporation? Yes, I do. Do you recall the night of, April 15th, 2022? I do. Were you working that evening? Yes. Were you working as a chauffeur? Yes. Were you driving? I'm sorry. Did you pick up a client that evening? Yes, I did. Can you explain that process to me? Well, I had on my schedule that I was to pick up the client at West Palm Beach Airport. I was to take them to their hotel. I was to wait for further instructions. Okay. Did you take him to the airport, to the hotel? Yes, I did. When you took him to the hotel, what did you do next? Well, they asked me to wait. They were going to get ready, and they wanted, and I was then going to take them to a restaurant, and then later to a club. Okay. And you took them to the restaurant? Yes, I did. And then when you say you were taking him to the club, what club did you take him to? I took him to Club X. Okay. And when you take them to Club X, can you explain how you get there? Well, they were at this hotel. I drove down Dixie Highway. I went over the bridge, and I went to the hotel. Great. And when you brought them, after I left the hotel, I went down, I went over the bridge, and I went to the club. Okay. And the club is on X Street, right? Yes, and that's Club X. Yes. Okay. And in order to enter or to get to the front door, how do you do that? Well, there's a one-way street. I drive down that street, and I bring the car right up to the front doors of the club. Okay. And when you did that, was there any obstacles, any delays? Well, there was a lot of traffic, so I had to wait in traffic to go around the circle. Okay. So there were other vehicles in front of you. Yes, other cabs, taxis, limos, that kind of thing. Yes. Okay. So do you ultimately stop in front of the location? Yes, I do. What do you do next? I get out, I walk over to the passenger side, and I open the door. Okay. Now, let me just ask you a quick question. Why didn't you open the driver's side? Well, the reason is because the passenger side was closer to the door, and we're a 5-star, limousine service. We want to make sure that it's closer. The individual doesn't have to walk. They don't have to walk around other people. We clear a path, and there's actually a door guy who is notified before that a celebrity is coming. Great. All right. So you exit your vehicle, you walk over to the back passenger door, and you open the door. Yes. At that time, if you recall, were you looking at your guests? I was. Was there ever a time that you were not? Well, yes, there was a commotion in the crowd. Someone started yelling, and as my client was exiting the vehicle, a man came running. Do you know what the man was saying? He was saying something negative. He was cursing. He was, and what did he do? Well, he came running with his hands up, and what happened next? Well, my client's security intervened and threw a punch that stopped him and pushed him away. All right. At that time, was there anyone else there? Well, there was door people. There were people waiting in line in the other line. Yeah, there were a bunch of people. Okay. Were there any police officers there? No. They came later, maybe 3-5 minutes. I don't know, something like that. 5 minutes later, the police showed up. Okay. So when the interaction happened, the fight occurred, there was no one there, meaning there's no police there. No. All right. So when the police arrived, what did they do? Well, they put this big guy in handcuffs first, and then ultimately they let that guy go, and then they put another person in cuffs. And who's that guy? That was a security guard for the celebrity. Got it. All right. Now, did you see that happen? Yes, I did. Because so many people started to crowd around, the celebrity got back into the vehicle. We waited because we were blocked. The officer had come the wrong way down the road, and everyone got stuck there. So we waited. And so what did you do while you waited? Well, I stood near the door because I wanted to make sure no one else would come near the celebrity, and now the security guard had been placed into handcuffs. Okay. How far was the security guard in handcuffs from you? Security guard, the bodyguard. Maybe 10 feet. Did you have an unobstructed view? Well, yeah, he was sitting down on the curb. He had his hands behind his back. Okay. What did you see next, if anything? Well, you know the guy that I originally told you, came to hit the celebrity? Yeah. Well, that guy walked closer to the security guard. Now, the officer, there were a couple of officers, but they were talking to different people. Okay, so what drew your attention? Well, he walked over towards the bodyguard who was sitting on the curb handcuffed, and I kind of thought that he was going to kick him or sucker punch him or something. Okay, well, did he? Well, no, what he did was he had something in his hand and he threw it down on the ground, and then he started yelling. What he started yelling, he said, officer, look. And there was something on the ground. Could you see what it was? I couldn't see. It was like a little piece of something. I couldn't tell what it was. What did the officers do? Well, they went over and picked it up. Okay. Did you see it? No. I couldn't tell what it was. Well, but you could tell that the other person threw. Yeah, no, he absolutely threw something. Got it. Okay. So the police officers come over. What did you do, if anything? Well, I tried to tell the police officers. What do you mean you tried? I mean, all you got to do is say, officer. Well, I did. I said, hey, officer, like that guy that's yelling, he just threw that at the guy. And the officer, get back, or I'll have you arrested. So what'd you do? Well, I backed up. I said, sir, can I say something to you? And he goes, shut up and get out of here. And he goes, and I told him I couldn't because there was a traffic jam. And he said, get back in your car, you're going to be arrested too. So what did you do? I got back in my car. Okay. And then how did you come to know about this case? Well, an investigator contacted our company and asked to speak to me. Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony today, sir. Now, state did their cross-examination. I had 6 other witnesses. It didn't matter. Now do you guys understand why you shouldn't jump up and down about a police report? Now, it doesn't always work out that way. This is a good story, right? Because it worked out for my client and he walked away from drug charges and a battery charge because he was defending, right? That's what a bodyguard's for, is to defend, right? The person you're protected to do. And there were more than that witness, but I only had 7 witnesses. Gets redundant at some point, right? Guess what happened to the case? Bye-bye. Yes. So, doesn't always happen like that, but don't get caught up with the police report. The police report's the police report. You cross-examination, depositions, other witnesses, other evidence. you can overcome a police report. It's just an opinion. I'm attorney Roger P. Foley. If you didn't know, now you know.